Hello, everyone. Okay, so welcome to one of our first O Club interviews. My name is Kritika, and this is Katie, and we're going to be talking about piano education, our perspective on it, and how we think it should be different, what we enjoyed about it, didn't enjoy, and hopefully hopefully get some insight out of it about piano education overall. All right, so Katie, if you want to start with like introducing yourself, your name, your school, age, where you're from, and kind of your background in piano.
Yeah, so I'm Kadee Pham-Nguyen. I'm 18. I'm a first year at UCLA, and I started playing piano when I was 5. So it's been quite some time since I've started. I did private lessons since I was 5 up until the beginning of my senior year, so like 5 to 17 years old. And since then, I haven't been going to lessons because of COVID. I didn't get the chance to come back as well. But I've been picking up teaching. So now I teach a couple of students at home remotely, which has been a lot of fun. So I do have a lot of experience with piano. So hopefully I get to provide a little bit more insight into it today. But yeah.
Awesome. And then kind of a follow-up question to that is, I know that piano brought you like a lot of relief, like stress relief. Was there ever some times when piano brought you maybe more stress than it did bring kind of peace to your life?
Yes, definitely. When I say stress relief, it's true, but also there were aspects when it did bring me stress because when I played piano, I played for exams. So I studied for like very long time, like maybe a year to prepare for an exam. So once that exam date is set in, I just have to work up to that date to really work on my pieces, my scales, my technical abilities, whatever, to prepare for it. So yeah, there were times where I felt like I wasn't good enough, or I felt like I was just not like on the right path or the right pace to get where I should be. So lessons were definitely stressful at times. It was a very strict environment for me personally because I felt like I always had to improve at least one thing every lesson. Like I needed to get something out of it. So the exam part of it did make me stressed at times. So I would say that, yeah.
Okay, so the exam part of it made you stressed out. Definitely can relate to that. I also took like the CM tests. I think the tests were probably my least favorite part because it was just again like a really high pressure environment to be in. Could you kind of elaborate more on like the way you were taught piano? And you mentioned it being like a pretty strict environment. Can you talk more about like what you enjoyed about it and maybe what you wish was different?
Yeah, I would say it was a strict environment because the exam system I was in was ABRSM, if you heard of it. It's the Royal Schools of Music in London. So I was kind of brought up with kind of this British kind of like method of teaching. So it was pretty strict in that like the technicalities and like there are very specific things that I had to learn. So I think I liked the idea of getting a really good grasp of technique and such at a young age. I think because I did music theory, so like I think it allowed me to understand what I was playing more, and it helped me like play it better when I know what it's going, like what is happening during this measure or whatever. But I guess it did kind of hinder creativity sometimes in that environment since I was kind of expected to play this like very set repertoire. Like I didn't really get to like choose what to play myself.
Right.
A lot of it was chosen by my teacher, and I really just followed it. I mean, I think when you're young, like you don't really realize that like yeah, it's okay if you don't want to play those things, but I just kind of went along with it and I enjoyed them. I really enjoyed Beethoven. I enjoyed like Brahms, but also now I realize like I didn't really have a lot of like freedom for me to choose which pieces that I could have like I didn't pick my pieces. So I think that was probably the worst part of my of me growing up is in that like I didn't really have that like I didn't have the authority to choose which pieces to play. But yeah, I would say that.
Were there ever did you ever have like experiences where you kind of thought about leaving piano, or do you know people who had experiences where they like really wanted to quit, and why did they eventually leave if they did?
Yeah, I think as you said in the beginning, like quitting is so common in music and especially in piano because I think like I've known a lot of people who have started it, but eventually they just stopped midway. Me personally, I did feel the urge to when I was young, maybe in like elementary school, because there were times where I would just be frustrated and be like, I just want to quit. And I would try to tell my mom that I want to quit. And she's like, no, you can't quit. You shouldn't do that.
Hmm.
So I think those were just petty, like, urges. I don't think they were very serious. I never felt like I seriously wanted to leave piano.
Hmm.
But I think people do for certain reasons.
Yeah, the exam format was something that kind of hinders a lot of students and keeps them from kind of reaching their full potential or reaching their full like love for music. Is there a different kind of format or teaching style that you think might work better for students?
I think the creativity part that I've talked about already is very crucial, and like that's the way that I teach now to my students is that like I we're not working towards exams. I think we're working towards growth and improvement more than that. Like it's not like exams aren't the only thing that could like measure the amount of growth or accomplishment that you've had. I think the main motivation of me teaching my students now is like I'm trying to see I don't want to see like a very discrete amount of improvement that needs to happen during this certain amount of time. For me, it's like I want to be more flexible and be like, as long as you're learning something, as long as you feel like you are improving in some way every week, then I'm good with that. Like, I don't want it to be like so much pressure in which it's like I have to be at this certain level at this certain time. It's something more like flexible and personalized, I'd say.
I do have one more, which is a kind of a little bit different, but how involved were your parents or your family in your music learning process?
I'd say my parents were pretty involved. I was lucky because my parents are pretty musically inclined, so
Mm.
I think like they knew what I was doing, so it's like they paid more attention to it. But then there became a certain time where like I was advanced in which like they don't really know what I'm playing anymore. But then they did always push me to practice every day. They reminded me every day when I was little.
Hmm.
They'd be like, "Come on, practice, practice." So I think they were pretty involved, and they liked talking to my teacher and kind of like gauging as to like where I am, what I'm doing, if I'm on the right path or pace. So I'd say for me, yeah, my parents were pretty involved, and they try to be involved with my siblings now too, because my siblings also play piano.
All right, thank you so much for coming. This was a really
Yeah,
awesome interview, and yeah, I will see you next time. Um,
yeah,
yeah, you have
yeah.
a really
Thank you
good.
for this opportunity. I really hope that I contributed at least some kind of insight into it.